I just want to say a couple words. My name is Tim Lindgren. I'm an instructional designer in instructional design and eTeaching services. And I, along with Scott Kinder, I don't know if Scott, oh, there's Scott. Scott and I were project managers for this project. And I just wanted to give a little bit of overview of where we're going this morning, and then I'm going to hand it over quickly to Ann here and the rest of the team. So we're going to do a few introductions, and Ann's going to talk about what forensic science has been at BC, and then where she wanted to go with it through this project into creating this virtual game. And then we're going to do a walkthrough of the game and the assignments that went along with the game. We'll look at some student examples of what came out of that assignment. And then we'll talk a little bit about where the game is going next and what some of the ideas are for future development and future use, and other applications in other fields potentially for this kind of a game. And then we'll open it up for questions. So the team was obviously Ann Burgess in the Connell School of Nursing. And her husband, Alan, was a consultant and worked very closely with the developer on the project. And Sarah Gregorian was also from the Connell School of Nursing and was a consultant and helped manage the project as well. And Andrew Richardson is the developer of the game, and he obviously was a big part of this and made things happen on a technical level. And he put up with a lot of our brainstorming and all the wild ideas we had throughout the project, and was flexible enough to kind of accommodate all our ideas and also get us to an actual product. And then again, I'm Tim Lindgren and Scott Kinder were project managers. So that's the team. I want to hand it over to Ann now to talk about the actual game.
Thanks, Tim. Let me tell you a little bit about the development of this and how the idea started. In 2001, when I returned to Boston College, we began a series of forensic programs. And and by 2005, Mike Piatelli, he's going to be here, I hope, later, who is the director of the undergraduate biology lab, wanted to do a forensic module in his biology undergrad course. And so he talked with me about it, and I worked with him a little bit on it, and we began to work together on this because the next semester he wanted to do an 8-hour module because students enjoyed it so much and really learned a lot. With that, we thought, well, maybe we should try to do a TAM grant, which is, of course, for those of you here at BC, is a way that you can do it's a teaching and mentoring type of grant. And we were able to be successful in obtaining that and developed a forensic science lab where some of the students that took the forensic science course, the lecture course, and who wanted to try out some of the actual activities were able to go over to the lab. We had a lab in the biology department, and they practiced it. That then left, and we did it on a shoestring budget. We did all of the equipment that you needed with $200, which I think we were pretty proud of. Right? So it shows you can do this without a huge amount of money. And this just gives you an idea what the curriculum was in the lab, and that the crime scene photography was really made easier because most of the students had cell phones, so that we didn't have to go out and buy the throwaway cameras. They could use their own cell phone because they had to take pictures of the crime scene. All of these were going to be crime scenes, and we did a different type of crime analysis each week. We did evidence collection, as you can imagine, hair and fibers, tool marks, shoe prints, glass, soil, fingerprints, ballistics, blood spatter, and DNA, which Mike did, and bite marks. So all of the students all had experience doing that in the lab. So then the next point became, and that just gives you I'll turn it to Alan, because he was the instructor at this, and this is the mannequin he had to work with.
So yeah, what we had to do was to create crime scenes. So before the lab class, I would spend about 30 minutes creating the crime scene. The biggest problem was not getting the lab dirty. So we would take vinyl tablecloths and put it up in the spatter blood, which we came with a nice mixture of strawberry milk and red food coloring. It had that nice consistency, and we splattered it all around, and then the students would come in and take a picture. As you can see, it's somewhat limited what you can do with a mannequin. And again, here's another shot of that thing, and this time his hand's not tied. And then last here is a student taking pictures of the shoes and the evidence in the lab, so we were kind of constrained. And with the advent of CSI on TV and how fast they were going, this seemed to be somewhat inadequate to get across what we wanted to do. So in talking with Ann, we thought maybe we should come up with a virtual lab. And then we applied for this technology grant. Turn it back to you.
Okay, the ATIG, which we had to describe what we wanted to do and so forth, and we were, again, successful in receiving funds to do this. And so we set out. And what we wanted to do is to take the actual crime. I do a lot of expert testimony in crimes, and so I always would get the crime scenes. So we thought, well, maybe we'll take an actual crime scene, and we'll develop this so that students would have a homework assignment. It was never going to replace the lab, but it would have a homework assignment for them to practice some of the things. So the purposes were going to be to how do they apply the forensic science principles to a crime scene, how do they apply forensic psychodynamics, because in murder you want to be able to describe who the murderer was and what the dynamics were in the interaction between the victim and the offender. And then to have the students recreate the interaction of the victim, and you'll see in the scene how we did that, to look at a variety of offenders so they can begin to narrow down the analysis part of that. So those were the purposes to develop the virtual crime scene. We selected a crime that I had worked on that you're going to see, and just to we also got full permission from the suspect in this and the defendant in this, and also from his family, to be able to use this, because after all, this is a crime scene, and it's a little bit different from, writing something and applying for a grant. So we wanted to be very sure that we had their permission. So we do have written permission from, as I said, both the person that was arrested and his family.
And the other purpose of it was to see how good the teaching was in the lecture, forensic lecture, and take the homework assignment and see if the information she delivered got through. We had to verify that the students, in fact, were comprehending forensics.
Okay.
So we got this, what we got together, we said, okay, let's see what we're going to do. We had the first idea we had was, hey, let's go convert 2D photos to 3D, and man, it's easy to do. Well, we discovered we couldn't really do that. But we then developed models, which Andrew is responsible for, and you'll see his game. He'll demonstrate the game. We took a game environment using Unity, the development environment, and we took models of furniture in it, and we took actual real photographs in which the students could see. Covered those two things. Oh yeah, the thing, it's an actual crime scene. So what you'll see is the actual house. You'll go into the rooms, and every time you enter a room, you'll see the actual photograph of the room. And then you'll enter the game environment, the virtual environment. And when you come to evidence point, which we'll show you the tutorial, you'll know that there's something to look here at this, or if you see something you want to take a picture of, the game has a camera in it. So the student's able to take a picture of any part of the crime scene, plus take pictures of the actual photos of the crime scene when they pop up. And we did it, the last thing, downloaded, run on a PC, thanks to Blackboard. We'll show you where we had 93 students take it this last semester.
Right.
And it was fantastic to see what they did. They really had sunk through. They knew what they were doing. They gave all the necessary answers that we wanted to see. It was an outstanding job.
And it was for either PC or Mac. I mean, that's where we had a little bit of, we'll talk a little bit about that, because some smaller students had Macs and had PCs, and we really ran it on a PC. So, but anyway.
Okay. So this is the Z case. Give you a little background. It started with a 911 call.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, this is Matt. I live on 2008 North Grandview Lane.
Okay, the phone number you're calling from?
223-2049.
Then what's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
I killed my wife.
You killed your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. When did this happen?
February. I don't know what happened.
How did it happen?
I really don't remember. I don't know what happened. I really don't.
Let me just say, the reason I was called in on this case, as you can hear, is he says I killed my wife. So the police automatically thought this was going to be a domestic violence case, and so they had written it up as that. So I was brought in by defense because they felt that they were going to have to get some kind of a domestic violence defense in this. And I looked at the case, I looked at the crime scene, and I said, this man did not kill his wife. And was able to bring in one of my colleagues at the FBI Behavioral Science Unit, who's now retired, and he took a look at the case too. So that we were prepared, as you will see other things happened in the case, but we were prepared to say, this man did not kill his wife, even though he says it on the 911 call.
And they interrogated him for 12 hours, and even at the end brought his children in to question him. And even to his children, he had to admit he did not know what happened. And so the police arrived, and they found his wife, sure enough, dead in the kitchen, as he said. They had him stand at the garage door to greet them so he could not go back and contaminate the crime scene. And every time the police asked him a question, what happened, he could not remember a thing. And then he remembered, this is the other part, in the interview, he remembered the whole day. He remembered going shopping for rugs, new rugs for his house with his wife. Everybody said he was a loving husband. They held hands. They talked a lot. They did everything together. He remembered what she made him for dinner. He remembered watching Dancing with the Stars with her, and then he went to bed. And at 9:30, he got a call from his son and daughter-in-law, and he talked to them about it. Said she was down working, and that was it. He went to sleep. He woke up at midnight, a little thereafter, and discovered his wife's body. And being somewhat of a logical man, all the windows and all the doors were locked. So, hey, no one got in. How could they get in? Because everything's locked. It must have been me. But he still didn't understand it. And, of course, they did a very short investigation, charged him for it, and went to court. You want to tell what the judge decided?
Right. He was in jail for quite a length of time, and as you'll see, some other things happened during that time, which even pointed more that he didn't do it. But he had to be psychiatric exams. Nobody could find anything wrong. Nobody could find any history of what had happened. And so the case was eventually essentially closed because of insufficient evidence. And he was then allowed
to come home.
Where
he then later passed away.
He later passed away, right.
Okay. So what we did,
this is an unsolved case. This is still unsolved. So one of the reasons we do this, and especially to law enforcement, is maybe somebody will figure out who did it.
And thanks to Tim, he set this thing up on Blackboard so we could do it. And this is the first screen you see, and you will hear the 911 call. And then the next screen was the text of it, so that even though they heard it, we gave them the full text so they would understand what was written in the text. And then we said, okay, download the game. You're going to have to answer the questions. We gave them 6 questions to test that they, in fact, understood the lectures that they had been receiving. And then compose a photo log. The game has a feature, which I said earlier, the camera. The camera takes pictures and puts it in a file with the student's name, the name they log on with. So if they log on as John Doe, it's going to be his John Doe folder. And also into that folder, we put the end results. And the end results will say how many rooms they went to, how many evidence points did they see, and how many photographs they took. And then they're to take those photographs and prepare a PowerPoint for us. And the variety of PowerPoints we got was quite intriguing as well. And like Tim said, you'll see a sample of it at the end. Here was the Blackboard thing. Download the game, read the task list, submit your PowerPoint to me, and I'll come back to you with comments. And 93 of them did, which surprised me. So I had 93 student PowerPoints to evaluate. So I spent many an evening looking at PowerPoints and seeing the same pictures over and over and over. Okay, this is the virtual game, and you jump into the game, and we give them first a tutorial. So they learn how to use the game. We assumed that no one had gaming experience. So they had the game, and you'll see as it goes. It's the classic game, WASD, which is W forward, A left, D right, S backwards. And after the tutorial, all the students were able to run the game. There's the inspection point with the circle. The cursor goes to a circle. And you get the real picture of the Mona Lisa. Take a photo. And that's the camera clicking. We added all the animation to it. And hit the return to go back to the game. Come on. Okay. Then the assignment was to tour the exterior of the house and the interior of the house. The game is broken into two pieces. There's the exterior tour, where you go around looking for inspection points that a normal police officer or CSI person would do. So we wanted to make sure that they understood what CSI had to do. And then go in the house and inspect the house. Not only just go see the body and see the gore, I must warn you, the actual crime scene photos are pretty bloody. The victim was hit in the head somewhere between 14 and 23 times with a hammer. So her skull was crushed. So we'll warn you when it starts to come up so you can turn your head away. Or Tim will show you how to turn your head away. Okay, this was it. These are questions. Determine the type of crime, which Ann teaches. Organized, disorganized, and mixed. And one picture, 3 photos, you only got 1 point for it. But 3 photos to justify that. Decide the cause of death. The picture was so gory in a sense, one student thought she was shot. So the skull was crushed so bad. And then what weapon was used, they had to go and find out if the weapon was used. And they had to search the house for a weapon. So if it was a weapon of opportunity, it means the offender picked the weapon up at the site and then used it, or he brought it to the scene. So all these things are taught in Ann's class. Where was the weapon found? Use the CCM to determine how would you classify this crime? And then identify a suspect. And then we asked the students in the game if you thought the suspect was the spouse, he was upstairs in the upstairs bedroom, how would he have to come down the steps, go by her in the kitchen, go down to the basement, get the weapon, come back upstairs, kill her, go back down the basement, clean up everything, wash his clothes, because you'll see the blood spatter patterns, which again Ann teaches. He would have been covered with blood. When they came there, they found 1 bloody T-shirt with 3 blood drops on it. Could not find any bloody shoes. They did find a hammer all washed up, and they did find a laundry tub, which had blood stains in it. So they did, in fact, have that information. But again, they had to support and then here's the game. This is Andrew. He's the game developer. He headed the whole development effort for this. And when you see what he did for as little money as BC gave him.
And the worst thing is that he had to look at all these photos over and over.
Over and over and over and over.
I never
again.
got used to it.
All right. I'll bring you through a little tour of the game here. This is the non-disclosure agreement screen. It's pretty exciting. We'll just skip right through. This is where you can obviously choose between the tutorial and whatnot. This is where the student will enter their name. This will decide what folder all their things go in. My name is not John Smith, so we're going to type my name in here. Brings you into a little office where you can select the cases. We're going to continue with the Z case.
Ann has presented Andrew with a number of cases, so he's seen a lot of gore, not only this but other cases. But we're showing you this case because this is the one the students took.
So we have a basic overview of the case, what the student should do, the victim, and the basic just general details. We'll just go right here and boot up the game. All right, so this is the start of the game. This is pretty much where the police started out, is at the foot of the driveway. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right into the house and check out the murder scene. Takes a little bit to
taking so long, let me jump in here as a developer. Because the case has so much data in it, we had to break it into 2 parts. The interior is one part of the game, and the exterior is the other part of the game.
All right, so as soon as you walk in, you get basically a photo of the actual garage. This is a panoramic stitched together from crime scene photos. So it kind of gives the student a general idea of what's going on in the actual scene. So it doesn't look exactly like that, but I tried. So you can go through and you can inspect the license plates of the car, of the various cars and whatnot. Go through. Oops. Check the cabinet. And go inside. All right, this is the entrance photo for this room, as if you were to walk through this door yourself. As you can see, there's the bodies up there at the top of the stairs. So we'll walk over there. I have a nice computer.
And in this picture here, you see the little flags. We had the blood spatter. We have a picture of the rug with the spatter, but you can't see it. So they put little flags around to show the spatter. There's the actual spatter pattern. And there's even blood up on the table up there. But you can see the gap in the spatter, too.
So this is where the murder took place, if you couldn't tell. So there's plenty of inspection points around here. But first what we're going to do is we're going to want to take a picture. Now, hopefully this will not... We're going to take a basic picture of just these 3D models. So this is how the picture will look out. Bear in mind, it might be a little loud. All right. Wasn't too loud. So we're going to inspect around first. Check this shoe here. Why not?
You can see spatter around the shoe and in the shoe. So the shoe was off when one of the whacks were delivered. One of the hits were delivered to her head. There she go. I apologize. I'm not supposed to use that word.
You can also see some splatter up here. I don't know if you can see it on the screen here, but it's there. All right. Now, this is probably where it gets a little bit more graphic. We'll check this wall. You can see where she seemed to have hit her head against this wall as she fell down.
And she was struck twice, en route to the floor, up there and then down here.
All right.
Okay, this is
Inspect the blood next.
And you'll see if you look at the blood, there is a footprint in the blood. We later discovered it was the policeman's footprint, one of the first ones on the scene. Okay, now this one, turn your head away. This is the one with the shot of her head.
You want the face or the back of the head?
Just that shot right there. That's the back of the head.
Yeah, want the face.
She hit the face, and there's the face. And what happened, because she had the 3 prongs in her cheek, the police thought it was done with a fork or something. And so they went in and examined each of the drawers in the kitchen. So they went looking for a possible fork as the murder weapon.
And we tried to find a fork.
They never found a fork.
Oops.
He tends to sometimes go very quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the students can savor this, if you want to so to speak, at night, watching it as a homework assignment. Go to the desk, yeah. And again, everything we try to pick out was, see the glasses? See how they were bent, most likely, and there's some little bit of spatter on the table. Either they were bent when she took it off or when he first hit her.
Take a look at what she was
And take a look at the whole table, and you'll see her paperwork over here. The business they were in, the husband was the businessman, but she did all the books. Like most family businesses, she did the books. So every night she would come down and do the books, and then come up to bed. And this is what you see, the books. Okay, so now we're asking the students, you got this seat, now go do the tour of the rest of the house. Go upstairs. Go upstairs to verify that the husband's story was he was in bed. So very quickly, the student can go into the master bedroom, can look at the bed, bingo. Only one side was slept on, the other side had not been slept on. So it kind of confirms his story that he was sleeping. And then go down to the hall. And in the course of the investigation by police, the police never opened this closet door. There's a safe in the closet, and bingo, it was open. And only she knew the combination. Okay, now can we go outside real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Speed us up a little bit.
Can't run any faster.
Yeah, no, I can't. I made him slow the game down. Oh, stop right there. Oh, right here. As you can see again, the students had to spot all this evidence. And here's blood. It was delivered to the wall wet. So it was put up there when whoever the offender was went to the garage door to check. And it had dried and spot. And up here to the right, up here to the right, you can see 3 more blood spatters along the wall as you're coming down. And the students have to go outside and look for these inspection points. And down in the corner, you see the inspection points. He's not found any yet. And what they are is, what would a police officer look for, organic crime scene investigator, what would they look for at the crime scene? Okay, why don't you go, let's look at each of the windows. Open the window, it's locked. Go down to this door. It's locked. Go to that window, it's locked. So all of a sudden you begin to see, whoops, this door opens. This is a shed in the back of the house that has a passageway doorknob. There's no lock on the shed at all, none. So you go in and he shows you a picture of the brooms and everything hanging in it. And then next to the brooms, look what you see. All the keys labeled. So if anybody who knew about this, knew where to get the keys, and again, not to pick on the police, they never opened the shed door. Domestic violence. He confessed. Arrest him. Keep going. Any questions? Anybody like to see something else in this game?
All right.
You satisfied? Okay. Yes, sir. Over there.
He's protecting his kid.
Say again?
He's protecting his kid.
He's protecting his kid.
Protecting his kid. You think his kid did it?
I think that he's trying to muddy the waters.
Could. In fact, some of the students said spouse. Most of them said spouse. Some said neighbor. Some said acquaintance. Some said relative. Some said family. Yes. It's very interesting how the students went through and gave opinions on it. And it's very fascinating for me to look at it as an investigator to see how much I really missed when I looked at the case the first, second, third, fourth time. Okay.
I just will add one thing, that 4 days after he was in jail for 4 days, his son got a bill for several $1,000s. Somebody had stolen his father's identity and was spending money. So that gets fed into the...
And jumping on top of that from the investigator point of view, he never used credit cards, and yet there was this credit card account. He always used cash. And so the question was there cash in the safe? And so then what we did, we said, as we told you, the students had to do this. And then this is, again, a sample of PowerPoints. I had 93 times about 35 photos, so 3,500 PowerPoint slides to look at. Here's the one that said, okay, the crime scene is disorganized. Why is it disorganized? Because the offender left blood by the door.
5 minutes left. Keep going.
5 minutes. Okay, here we go. Oops. Okay. And this is another one that says, here's the murder weapon. One of our opportunities, she actually goes down and takes a picture of the hammer in the garage. This one said they cleaned the sink. Well, she had the wrong sink. He had the wrong sink. She. Your class is about equal, wasn't it? Yeah. And then here's one, the spouse. I picked the spouse because here's the wash. He was doing his wash to get the blood away, and here's 2 empty rolls of toilet paper. He cleaned up the scene with toilet paper and flushed it down the toilet.
What's important about this is you get to see the students thinking in their analysis, which you never get if you just, if you, even on a...
Give them a quiz. Yeah.
So this really helps to see how much they're grasping the content and the principles.
And here's another student who took the same hammer drawing and had more comments on about it. Weapon of opportunity. And here's the one saying, here's the car. It's a big car. It's spouse. Spouse lives in the house. Therefore, spouse must have done it. And here's one of the T-shirt where you see the blood in the front, a couple of samples up there and up on the sleeve. But if you saw the victim, you saw the crime scene, the murderer, the offender would have had it been much bloodier than that. And then this one examines the body and explains what it could not be, not been removed or done, therefore it wasn't a sexual crime. And then this one points out that, look, all the bank books and everything on the table, it could have been someone forced entry. And here's one who did the disorganized to prove why it was disorganized. Blood at the door, hammer, but the hammer was cleaned. Hammer's washed up, and the body, and the cabinet. And you can see this, the offender, alleged offender, the spouse, was obsessive compulsive. You can see his house is very, very neat, and yet the crime scene was not neat. And again, another one says here right by the door. Here's the one that said the neighbor knew where the keys were. The neighbor could have let themselves in, and the neighbor could have done the deed. Here's another one, which appears to be disorganized, and why. Again, they're justifying everything they learned in Ann's class. And next steps, Ann.
Okay, so we plan to use this in the summer and then the fall with two other groups, and the hope is to develop more cases pointing out this was one that had a lot of blood spatter to it, so another one would be more were footprints or fingerprints or something else. Actually, we're working on a serial murder case, so it will be whodunit. You know, was it one person? Was it multiple persons? And then the other big hope is, can it go from 2D to 3D? That's really the key factor. And I think the other is, how else could this be used? In nursing, we can think of some activities that could be used. For example, when you have cases of, say, skin rashes, and you can put up the actual skin rash, could students be able to discriminate between that? Injuries, any kind of injuries, anything that you have a photo with could be simulated. So those were some of the thoughts that we have. We'd love to talk about other fields, disciplines that might be able to use it. So are we on time? We're supposed to be. And you